a lot of good DPS towers in the game now, but because there are so many viable ones, I really wanted to answer the question of which one is the best. And so I developed a pretty simple experiment. I was gonna solo pizza party with every single DPS tower to see which one can complete it the easiest. And now going into this, I'll be honest, I didn't test all of them. I didn't test gold mini or normal mini, some of the more niche DPS towers that I don't even know if they count, like, I don't know, necromancer. So like I didn't do everything, but I tested most of the DPS towers. I'll explain why I didn't do gold mini and normal mini in a second, but for now I can just explain the loadout that I brought into solo pizza party. The idea of it is pretty basic. I have Gold Cowboy for money, Commander for its 50% fire rate buff, Electroshocker to melt defense and help stun a little bit, Mortar for crowd control because Pizza Party spams a ton of shotgunners towards the end of the round, and then the final slot is open up to whatever DPS tower I'm testing. The strategy itself was also pretty easy. I used Gold Cowboy for early game, I got my Commander chain around the time of the shotgunners, and then got a bunch of Mortars to help deal with balloons. Once all my Cowboys were level 4, I hard focused Mortars and then Commanders, as well as getting some level 4 and 5 Electroshockers for defense melting, because that is, in my opinion, the best way that you can really deal with all of the shotgunner spam that happened to Pizza Party. And then after I'd done all that, I would actually start working on the DPS tower. So with all the loadout planning and strategizing out of the way, it's time to actually go into the different attempts. Now I tested 7 different DPS towers. However, the bottom few can consist of not only the 2 that I tested of this kind of category, but also every other tower that fits in said category. So this is what I'm going to talk about first. And at the bottom, we have Accelerator, Turret, and basically every DPS tower that can get stunned. The general TDS meta has evolved past needing Medic and just using DPS towers that can't get stunned, because we have so many good options for those now. And because of this, when you look at towers like Excel and Turret, on the last wave of Pizza Party, it's they don't even really get to play the game. So yeah, that's why I didn't test the minigunners, because I'm assuming that the same thing would have happened. And as for Necromancer, why I didn't test Necromancer, because it's absolute dog. Anyways, going on to the next worst performing tower, it is Merc Base. I kind of consider Merc Base to be a bit of a DPS tower. I mean, yes, it gives off the support and it spawns things, but like the purpose of a Merc Base is usually stacking guys to get like seemingly infinite DPS. That plus Rygars on the last wave can actually do a lot of DPS. And so that is why I consider Merc Base to be a DPS for this challenge. The stack I got was pretty pitiful. And by stack, I mean I didn't really stack at all. I don't know, I just never really got one going. You usually have to get one going early in the round, but like with the strategy I was using, it was kind of hard to get my Merc Bases maxed out that early. So this run got him down to about 70,000 HP, but after I started editing, I realized that I could probably do a better stack. So I tried once with Grenadiers and once with the Riflemen, and both times I found out that stacking in Pizza Party is really hard. Because of how strong the enemies are, the units can't really just roll over them like they would in Fallen, and the map doesn't have as good of turns as some Fallen maps that you'd usually use for unit stacking, meaning that it's a lot harder for them to build up. And both times, if I did actually start to get a good stack going, the Necromancer boss and Commander would show up and be like, yo. Essentially, to get a good stack going, you'd have to max out your Merc Bases super early, and with this strategy, it just doesn't work. If I completely changed the loadout for Merc Base, maybe you could do it, or if I was better at the game, again, maybe you could do it. But, I can't, and for the purposes of this video, I'm not allowed to change the loadout, so, you know, Merc Base is gonna stay at 70k health, but still, that's way better than, like, half the DPS towers in this game, so if you don't think it's a DPS tower, you're wrong. Engineer. There's not a ton I have to say about Engineer. It's really strong, is mostly immune to stuns, but the sentries don't receive any buffs, which harms it a lot. Overall, it's still a really good tower, and that's displayed here by the fact that it walks the fox and 12k HP. This was definitely winnable if my micro was better or if I got better RNG. On this run specifically, I didn't win, and because the 3 runs where I did win were all pretty easy to win and this one was like right at the end, I would still say that Engineer is worse than all 3 of those towers, so I'll talk about those in a minute, but that was just the Engineer. Going into the top 3, there are 3 towers who won the mode, and they're the ones that honestly probably make the most sense to win. Gatling, obviously, Pursuit, and Ranger, because they're the 3 DPS towers that don't get stunned and also receive buffs from Commander, DJ, Merc base, etc. This makes them pretty much the strongest and most consistent options for the last wave if you consider Pursuit to be consistent, and are, in my opinion, the best 3 DPS towers for this specific scenario. To find out which one actually performed the best, I just decided to time all the last waves. While yes, this isn't like the most accurate way to do things, I don't know, it just made more sense to me, so show each of them in order with what their time was, and then talk a little bit about the runs after. There isn't really a ton I have to say about Pursuit. It makes sense that Pursuit's the worst of the 3. While it is harder to get than Ranger, it's just a lot less reliable and generally used less by most of the player base. And that's for good reason. Because of Pursuit's weird targeting, it took a long time to kill these minigunners, which actually stunned the Cowboys for a long time, which would have been able to contribute a lot more DPS if they weren't getting stun locked. Pursuit is still a really good tower, and it's probably the best option for a secondary DPS tower, if you don't have Gatling Gunner. How the hell did Gatling do worse than Ranger? That's actually kind of crazy. I think the main issue was the place I put my Gatling gunner though. While my Gatling placement is very good for vision, I could see the path super easily. With it being so high up and so far away from the path, it doesn't get a lot of good pierce. But if I put it like over here, then maybe it would have done a bit better. Either way, Gatling in my opinion is still the best DPS tower in the game. You have full map range, and while Ranger is the same thing, you also get to decide at what to shoot at, and that's in my opinion one of the biggest things that's useful with Gatling gun. Like, you choose what to kill, you ignore aggro, you get to kill like necromancer bosses. It's really good. I don't really think you need me to tell you that Gatling's broken though, so let's just here's Ranger, I guess. That's pretty easy, huh? Why is Pizza Party so easy, man? My game was actually tweaking out, and I'm still here. Okay, so explanation on that. Basically, throughout, like, most of the early 30s, something with my Wi-Fi and the connection to Roblox was bugging because the game just looked like this, and the clips of it happening are really funny, so I'm gonna play all of them. But essentially, I think what's going on right now is... actually, I don't know what's going on right now, but my game's bugging, and then everything that would have happened while my game is like frozen in this weird state happens at once, and then it creates whatever this is. But essentially, it meant that I couldn't play for like half of the early 30s, but you know, it worked out fine. As for Ranger itself, it's really, really good. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It has full map range, it has consistent DPS, it can't get stunned, it gives your towers a range buff, which doesn't really mean anything, but it does do that, so that's cool. And this is also the attempt where I feel that I played the best out of the three, so that's also partly why I shaved off some time. Overall, though, this video has given us the conclusion as to what the best DPS towers are in the game. The ones that can't get stunned. It's kind of simple. I mean, look at the top four, none of them get stunned fully. So there's your answer, I guess. If you're a low-level player, just buy Ranger. It's that easy.